Hey, what's up everybody? Eric Solobox. I'm in the shop today, taking care of some of the stuff that has to be done in order to bring the new style of boxes into production. I think at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and try to try to phase out the old stuff. I don't think I'm gonna produce any more of them. I'm already sitting on 2 sets that are unsold right now. I think that once people start to get wind of a new model, nobody wants to order the old stuff. So I'm just gonna have to do all of the little things that need to be done in order to make sure that the new model comes out. A lot of that has been in the form of figuring out a bunch of little jigs. So here's a new jig here, thought I'd show you. This actually shows me where I use a punch actually to lay out where a bunch of the hardware is gonna need to go on the new lids. And so like these two here, these are footman loops. This is for the new hinge. I decided to go ahead and only put the layout for one hole on the new hinge in the back. On the old stuff, I would always drill where both of the first holes are gonna need to be. But until I know this is exactly right, I'm gonna go with one. Here's the catch for the hinge, or for the latch at the front. It actually is held on by 3. I only do the center one, and then I make sure that it's nice and straight on the lid and drill the other 2. And so I guess that's actually what I was trying to say with this is I want to make sure that these are going to be on there nice and level and exactly where I want them to be. So I'm not sure how well this stuff shows up on video, but you can see there's a lot of layout lines going on here. There's a lot to do to make one of these new lids. And so the only way that this would ever be profitable is if I can come up with a fast way of doing the layout. And so I make these, I call them a pocket jig. And basically what happens here is that the lid gets shoved down into the pocket and scribed, and that's how I know where the line goes. So in order to make these new lids, I have to have 3 new pocket jigs. So I spent the day before yesterday making the new pockets and making sure that actually when you scribe, you end up with lines that are all 100% parallel. These are they're tricky to build. You spend a lot of time with just trying to nail that down and get it exactly so, because if it's not exactly right, when you make the bend, you end up with stuff that's just not correct. So we got 1, 2, 3 new ones. Obviously this isn't going to sit here full time. This one, because it's the deepest line, which is this one here, it sits way up above the bench and I run out of space. I like to run these along the outside of this bench here, but I'm running out of space for jigs. So I think what I'm going to do is come up with something new where maybe these just slip in and out as they're needed. I don't know. That's just something that I'm going to have to work on. So what else is going on here? So this brake, I bought this specifically to make these new style lids. This has been sitting here for a long, long time without being used. I'm still working on trying to dial it in. One issue that I'm starting to run into is I'm ending up with flex in the system. When I go to make a bend on this machine, you can see this rod, which actually it acts as a stop. So this machine, it only makes the 45s. The 90s at the bottom of the lid are made over here on Biff, but all the 45s need to be made here, and there's some stuff I've got to do. I can still see that the machine is flexing, and I've done some testing to see if I put a little extra flex in it, how much of a difference do I end up with in terms of what I end up with a bend, and it's significant. So I've got to figure out a way of trying to get rid of that. You can see where I've tried to get rid of it in the past. When I built this, the stop here, I put some extra metal under here to try to stop it, but it looks like it's actually flexing in here and on this leg here. So I'm going to try to come up with a way. I think most of it's actually in the leg. So I've got to try to come up with a way of getting rid of that. And that reminds me, I wanted to talk about repeatability. You know, just because I can build one of these lids doesn't mean I can build 1,000 of them that are all exactly the same. And so repeatability, and that's a lot of what the jigs are about too. You know, when I lay this out, I need every one of them to be exactly the same. When I punch where the holes are going to be for all the hardware, they've all got to be exactly the same. And so repeatability is something that I've always struggled with. And I guess as a manufacturer, it's something that I've definitely gotten a lot better at, you know, as over the course of time, I've learned what works and what doesn't. Oh, that reminds me, there's still a couple of more jigs to show you too. These little jigs here, these set the length and the width of the new lid. And so if you look close, you see there's a little hook right there on the end. And basically how this works is I take my raw material metal and I'll stick this over the end of the metal, and then you scribe at the end, and that's where I need to make my cut over here at the shear. And so once again, you know, repeatability, they all have to be exactly the same length. They have to be the same width. Here's another one that I created. So I've got this done to create the size of the lid. I've got the pocket jigs done so that I can do the layout. Here's another jig. This will probably get replaced with something maybe a little bit better, but this is all stuff that's got to come out of this. And so this occurs over at the notcher. This all comes out, this has to come out, and then this has to come out. This part of it comes out over here at the bandsaw. Real time consuming. I will hopefully come up with a better game plan as far as getting rid of that stuff at some point. Still need to make some jigs for the notcher over here where all that metal needs to come out. This stuff's real time consuming. You know, the original lids, you know, it was just 4 real quick notches. Now I'm going to something where it's 8 and then plus some bandsaw work to do this. So, you know, that's all time consuming. And, you know, also I can't get as many boxes out of the amount of metal that I buy either. So these lids are a lot bigger than the old ones. And so, you know, the price has to go up because, you know, all of a sudden I go from being able to make like 3 boxes out of a sheet to now I can only build 2. You know, the money's got to come from somewhere. I'm getting squeezed on a bunch of other stuff too, you know, like my hardware. The cost of importing stuff, you know, unfortunately I'm an American manufacturer, but the people I do business with for the hardware and stuff, that's still, it's coming from offshore. There's just nobody in America that makes that stuff. And so I'm ending up paying extra money for that stuff now because of the tariffs that have gone into place. And although I haven't raised my prices, that's all stuff that's been coming out of my pocket for a while now. And so it's unfortunate, but yeah, the new boxes, the price is definitely going to have to go up. I'm making less and less money. You know, when the tariffs went into place on the cost of aluminum, you know, I ate all of that. I didn't raise the price on anybody. You know, the funny thing is, the people that I get my hardware from, when the tariffs went into place, they just sent me a letter saying, you're going to be charged more. And I don't think that that's exactly what was intended when those tariffs were put into place, was for the manufacturer, the people, you know, the businesses that are having their stuff manufactured offshore. The idea was for them, you know, for it to cost them some money. Well, it's not costing them any money. It's costing me money as the manufacturer that actually builds stuff here in the US, which I think is kind of bogus. So anyway, enough with that rant. But yeah, you know, the tariffs have cost me money out of pocket. I didn't push any of that forward on any of my customers, even though it's being pushed forward on me. So anyway, the best way for me to fight back is to come back, you know, with a better box at a reasonable price, you know. These are going to be really nice, and I hope that some of the guys with higher end bikes see these and realize that they can get a high end looking box at still at a reasonable price. You know, I'm thinking these are probably going to be $4.99-ish, maybe a little less. We'll see how that goes. So anyway, Eric with Solo Box, I've rambled long enough. I need to get back to work. I think I'm going to try to produce a match for this guy here and then one more set of them. So the first True production sets of these are going to be built today. They haven't been spoken for technically. I got a couple of guys that seem to be interested, so I'll be hitting them up later. But if you want to try out the new stuff, give me a phone call and I'll make it happen. Eric Solobox, talk to you guys later.